Well, hello, I'm here with Doug to talk about small LLMs and other things. It is Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024, and you might as well start with your defective key, Doug.
Yeah, Sam, so we were talking about this last time, and there's a ignition switch defect that killed 127 people, and I think it was over the course of 12 years. This is for GM cars. And Sam, you had asked the question, how the heck does an ignition key defect kill 127 people?
Yeah.
And I did some research on this, and it is actually it turned out to be pretty interesting. So it turns out the keys in the steering column, and you turn it, which unlocks the steering wheel. And somewhere along the way, GM or its supplier had changed the spring that when you turn the switch, you know how it kind of click, click, click.
Yeah.
That spring is what pushes against another piece of plastic, if you will, to prevent the key from turning.
Hmm.
So what was going on is people may have had like 5, 10 keys on their key ring. They hit a bump or turned the car. And if they had one of the other springs that was just a little bit shorter, and we're talking maybe a millimeter or two, so not very much, it was enough that the spring, the resistance, if you will, the tension in the spring, those keys would flip it into the accessory position. And immediately what would happen is the power steering would be lost, power brakes are lost, and sometimes, possibly, I'm not sure, it could go into the lock position, depending on which way it flipped. So apparently GM knew about this.
Yeah.
Little backstory. GM knew about this for 10, 12 years and just kept saying, oh, it's consumer error, it's driver error.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I think a family couple parents lost their kid, 17-year-old daughter and a friend or 18-year-old daughter, high school kids, that they looked into this. So that's how an ignition switch can kill people. How's that? Long story short.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I looked at that article, they said sometimes it even turns off the airbag. So that's
Oh
really,
yeah, 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 yeah. It
you
turns
lose
off
your
the
steering,
airbag.
you lose your brakes, and you lose your airbag. Well, now I'm getting to see the problem here.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting when you look at I'm gonna go sideways here for a little bit. But a lot of times these airline accidents that happen, they call it the Swiss cheese model. And I would argue this also probably applies cybersecurity, programming. This isn't specifically the airline, but there's usually a chain of events that happens or a sequence. And if any one of those didn't happen, then the final outcome would be different, obviously, because
Yeah.
the variables are different.
The cyber trucks, recalling them all for a similar problem. The
Oh
gas
yeah.
flips off, and I just saw one on the road for the first time yesterday. But I guess that makes sense. They're so rare. They only sold like 2,000 of them.
Did they even sell that many?
Yeah, they have the recall of the entire product line, which is like
Yeah.
2,500 Cybertrucks. That's all there are.
And do you know what the issue is? It sounds
Yes.
like the Toyota. Here we go with the Toyota
Oh,
floor mat issue that turned out not to be the floor mat.
no, what they did was they were having trouble attaching the pedals, the plastic bit on top to the brake pedal. So they added a lubricant in the form of some soap. And after that, the glue doesn't stick. So now it tends to slide off in use and jam against the wall and jam against the floor. So now you're accelerating and you can't get it to stop. Just a
Huh,
simple mechanical problem at the pedal.
I see.
But
So
they
this,
clearly need to like stick the pedal on more firmly or something to fix that.
yeah, yeah, got it.
And it's the first recall I've heard of Teslas where you actually really do have to return the car to a dealer to get it fixed. All the rest have been software updates.
Interesting.
There may have been
Very
other hardware
interesting.
ones, but all the ones I hear are software updates. And Elon Musk rather fairly says, "Why are you calling this a recall? It's just an over-the-air update. Come on, guys."
You know, he does have a point on that, doesn't he?
He does. Like Trump, Elon is right some of the time. It's just his attitude makes you hate him, so you want everything to be wrong, but he's not wrong about everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. So it is pretty interesting on this. The other thing I'll bring up is I've got a Volt, and there's an issue with GM again. It's called the shift to park defect, and it affects over 12 million cars. And not only Volts, but there are a whole series. And GM kept saying it's not happening, it's not happening, but it is. And if you have a Volt or several other cars and you get a GM car, you get a shift to park error message. You should Google it because lawyers are standing by and will sue GM for you. You wind up getting up to the purchase price of the car. GM doesn't want the car back, so they give you the car. And what it is the best I can tell, there's a voltage spike that's caused by the shifter where they did not add a surge suppressor, a spike suppressor. And so it burns out the switch that's actually a dollar 75 switch, but other components are being damaged by the spike as well because they left out the circuit. Probably 12 cents worth of components, a resistor and a diode is all that's needed.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So it's interesting, GM, these companies, and they just try and cover it up.
yeah, that seems
And
to be the answer. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right, Sam. So I thought, a little bit of research. Sometimes we're curious about stories,
Oh,
so
yeah.
we got to bring a close to it. So what do you got for us? What's our first story?
Well, I was real happy to see this happen. Microsoft has launched their new AI model called Phi 3, which is so small it will run on cell phones. And they did something which is pretty brilliant. The way
Yeah,
they train all the other LLMs is on the heap, which is basically all the data they could find on the internet up through 2021, this monstrous pile of data. They said, we don't teach our children this way. We write special books that make language simpler to train the books. So they trained it on children's books. And they couldn't find enough children's books, so they artificially generated children's books, but books that have simple training in how English works. And therefore, they need much less training data, and the model is much smaller because it learns the way people do. Instead of trying to find the pattern in all the crap on the internet, they give it nice examples. Here's how a sentence is structured.
yeah.
And I've been waiting for this. I feel like when people started using ChatGPT to write songs and Python code, I said, this is stupid. You're trying to make a device that knows everything. It would clearly be much better to specialize and make a smaller device focused on one topic. And that's the other one, which I was really glad to see, is NVIDIA has made a coding LLM that only writes code. It doesn't write sonnets and poems and jokes in English. They just trained it on languages. They trained one on like every possible language, like 300 or 400 languages. And then they made a smaller one trained on just the 17 languages anybody uses. And that's, of course, much smaller, much faster, and probably much better. Although I haven't seen a comparison how good it is. I say it is much better. It is much better. So anyway, this is what I've been saying for a while, is the LLM should get smaller and more concentrated in one area at a time,
Yeah,
as opposed
yeah,
to one giant thing to solve every problem. And now that they're getting upset that they're using too many processors and too much power, again, why do you have, a a gigantic edifice that can solve every problem on Earth when all you want is something to help you write Python?
yeah. It makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, they
Yeah,
found that they can make them use 30 times less power and still be as good. And there's many optimizations. The first generation just got the job done any way they could. And as they improve the technology, this can be done much more efficiently. And it has to be, because even the Microsoft Copilot, $30 a month, is not making money. The current generation of LLMs are so expensive that they can't possibly charge enough to pay for them. They need to make them much cheaper.
yeah. Well, it's evolving, right?
It is.
Like
It is.
everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Interesting.
Yep.
So since you're in the Microsoft world,
Yeah.
I'm going to jump ahead. Have you looked at VASA 1?
And who?
At Microsoft's VASA, VASA -1?
Never heard of it.
So this is new for Microsoft.
Hmm.
Vosa One can deep fake a person with
Oh,
one photo.
oh, I saw articles about it. They said they weren't going to release it because it was so dangerous.
Yeah, well,
One
I,
photo
I,
and a soundtrack. It'll animate them saying that whatever you want, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So it's like designed for deepfakes
yeah, exactly,
and for dubbing
exactly.
movies, I would think. But anyway,
Yeah, or yeah, and if you go up to Microsoft's website, they trained on YouTube video clips, and they got Mona Lisa singing.
yeah,
So,
yeah, I saw that
yeah,
one.
I'll tell you, it's going to be interesting. And we talked before about deep fakes where there was a Zoom call for an hour and there were 8 executives on the call. They told the finance guy to transfer, I don't know, $50 million. And it turned out that they were all deep fakes except for the finance guy.
Yeah, and Vasa one would totally do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, we'll see what's going to happen. They want to label deep fakes. We'll pass a law, Sam, that
right.
will label anything a deep fake. And
Yeah.
that way that'll fix it, won't it?
Well, it'll help a little.
Yeah,
If you make the most like when people say you put if you FBI spying on your SMS, people will just use an encrypted app. I say, well, they might, but the fact is 90% of people will just use whatever the easy thing is
right.
without
Yeah.
understanding the problem. So,
Yeah. All right. What else you have for us?
uh, well, I got one more AI one. Might as well do it now. This guy got a t-shirt. He made a t-shirt with a stop sign on it, and now he stands out in the street, and all the robotaxis stop dead. And he tried it at day and at night and under different conditions, and he found that at night, when he stands out, the thing will stop and never move again because it interprets him as one of those road workers with a sign. It's waiting for him to turn it around. So this actually is pretty brilliant, and you could put a different speed limit on the thing. How is the AI driving the car supposed to know a fake road sign from a real road sign? This is a pretty brilliant idea the more I think about it. You could totally do almost anything.
Yeah. And I would argue nothing illegal about it, right?
Oh, there's a crime of impersonating a police officer. I suppose there's a crime of impersonating a stop sign. It's got to be something, denial of service or something.
Yeah, we'll pass a law against you can't wear
I think if you
t-shirts.
I think if I put on a yellow jacket and carried a stop sign and went out there and stopped traffic, I would be breaking some kind of law.
Well, yeah, yeah, but that's not a t-shirt.
Well, you can try arguing that in court. It'll depend on how it's written, but I think the law probably says you can't go obstruct traffic without authorization or something like that. I'm just making this up, but I would hope that's what it says.
Well, yeah, but the guy doesn't stand in the middle of the street, does he?
No, he stands on the side, but that's where the stop signs are.
Oh, I see. So
He's just
he's
standing on the
waiting.
street. Yeah, he just stands there and a robo-taxi goes by and it stops. And he's like, hey, this is great.
So he's waiting for the bus, huh?
He's making a video, but it's a pretty good video. It's a pretty good idea.
Huh.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Yeah, this is
Very
the thing about
clever.
AI. They're not that intelligent. Reminds me of that movie where they said, you talk about organized crime, you got to understand it's not that organized.
Yeah. 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 It's it's less sophisticated than most people think.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, you got LastPass trouble, eh?
Yeah, so LastPass is in the news again, and users are being targeted by phishing attacks that are good enough to trick even the most savvy, people. It's a very clever campaign. It's using email, SMS, and voice calls to trick targets or users, LastPass users, into divulging their master passwords. So LastPass, I forgot, but they were in the news about 2 years ago, a year
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah, they got hacked.
that they got hacked. So now they're under attack again.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say LastPass isn't, but LastPass customers are.
Right. Right. When
So Sam, yeah, go ahead.
no, these clever phishing campaigns get good. I got hit by a Comcast one. They didn't fool me, but it was very persuasive for a while. I mean, if you put some effort into social engineering, it's really devastating.
Yeah, yeah, I've got a similar story, but let me ask you this. Do you use any like LastPass or Bitwarden
Yeah, I use
or
LastPass. I tried to switch to Bitwarden and it just crashed the first time I tried it. So I stuck with LastPass. But yep, I've been using it for a while. I
and do you,
Bitwarden is apparently better, but I haven't
yeah.
been motivated enough to move my stuff over.
And do you use a fob or do you just use a master pass, a free version?
Yeah, I use the
What,
free version with a master password.
yeah, okay.
But I mean,
And
certainly, I
it,
highly recommend using a password manager of some kind. It really makes you a lot safer.
so let me ask you this, since you use one, I do not.
Oh,
I'll tell you what I use, which I think is absolutely
piece of paper?
secure. No, but Ellen DeGeneres
Yeah.
brought up a video. Have you seen?
Oh, yeah, of your password book.
Yeah, yeah.
If you
And I
actually have a
guess
book to write it in, that would probably be the safest of all. I have to agree, as long as you don't lose that book.
yeah, yeah. And it was called what was it called? Password, let's see, password manager, password
Vault
something.
or something, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess it was a real product that was sold on TV, and you get two books for $20.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll tell you, I use this. This is a macro keyboard. It's
Wow.
got 24 positions there. They're
Oh,
all
so it's,
programmable keys.
so it's a hardware password manager.
Well, it's not a password manager. I think this is made for restaurants so that you can put macro keys in there, hamburger, French fries, Coke.
Right, but use
But
the
I,
password, right?
yeah. So I originally got one of these because I had to type in Windows keys. And we had one master key. Instead of running around and typing it in, all I had to do is plug this in. It emulates a keyboard, hit
Yeah.
one key, passwords in, unplug, move to the next computer. But then I realized in filling out web pages, I put in name, address, city, state, zip code. I've got
Mhm.
my email address. I've got a whole series of other things in there. So it's
Password
easy to
managers do that
customize.
too.
Yeah, yeah, but you can't, you have to have an operating system. This is a keyboard, right? It
True.
does more, is
Yeah,
what I'm getting at.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So that's my solution. So here, let me ask you with LastPass or Bitwarden, I've got a mother-in-law and she has a hard time with passwords, remembering them.
Yeah.
But could I'm assuming with all of these, are the passwords stored in the cloud, or where are the passwords stored?
They're stored in the cloud. You're logging into LastPass so you can access them anywhere.
I see. So anybody with the master password is able to access those passwords.
Yes. And by the way, anybody that gets even user privileges to execute code on your machine can steal them. They're unencrypted in RAM all the time. So pen testers love password managers. They can just easily steal the passwords right out of them.
But they're temporarily in RAM.
No,
No?
no, I was horrified when I learned this. I made it
Oh,
taught this
do
in my class.
tell.
The point, well,
Yeah.
the whole point of it is you can open your browser, you can go to some place like yahoo.com, and it fills the password in for you. It doesn't make you type in your master password every time you open a new page. So that means the browser extension has access to all your Vault unencrypted in RAM all the time. And you can totally get it with just a memory forensic tool. And
I
as far as
see.
I can tell, all of them work this way. At first, I was horrified and I said, "This is a bad one. Let me go try a better one." But they have to work this way. It has to be able to fill
Yeah.
in your password on the web page. Therefore, it's got to have access to all the passwords all the time without even administrator rights required, just your normal login rights.
So do these password managers require a browser extension?
Yes, if you want them to fill in the password on a web page, which is
I
mostly what you
see.
want them for.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I guess
okay.
you can make it where it just pops up and you have to type it in again, but nobody wants that.
Yeah, yeah, nobody wants that. I see, I see. So if you go to a public computer, can you use the password manager without the extension?
You can go to the website and log in to access your vault. So you could do it that way. I just wonder if there'd
I
be some
see.
traces left behind for the next guy to steal. But
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you can just
okay.
go to the website and log in and view your vault, and then you can just see the passwords, and then you can copy and paste them into stuff if you wanted to.
I see. And when you do a password change, that gets recorded up in the cloud, if you
Yeah, and
will.
the other thing, of course, is it's where I keep all my other notes for everything. You know, I finally
Mm.
know where everything is. So that I
Yeah,
appreciate.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Thanks for sharing that. So
yeah,
if you have an elderly parent, let's say,
yeah.
that's forgetful and you have a child, they could share the same LastPass
They could, yeah. Although, you know,
account. Yeah.
what I did for my elderly relatives was I just told them to write it down in their book where they keep phone numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
That's probably the best, simplest solution for a few small number of accounts for somebody who's not very technical. But
Yeah.
what
But if,
password manager would be much better.
yeah. And so if you're forced to do a password change, does the password manager record that?
Yeah, if you change it, it will automatically update the password.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, obviously you have to do it through the website and it's,
Right, it notices when you're on the website. And if you
yeah.
type in a
Okay.
different password, it says, "Oh, do you want to update it then?"
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's pretty
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Okay. I got it. All right.
Mm.
So I think it's your turn. You got
Yeah,
another
sure.
one. So that's LastPass.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing that.
yeah,
What
yeah.
else you have for us?
Decoded has an article about Gupti Miner, and the thing that surprised me about this is a malware that infects your machine and it puts on backdoors and cryptocurrency miners and all that, but it comes in through the antivirus. And the way it comes in through the antivirus is
No.
sort of horrible. There's an antivirus, apparently an Indian one called eScan, and the antivirus updates go over HTTP, not HTTPS. It's incredible to believe anybody would do this. So all you have to do is man in the middle it, modify the update, and it will install your code and run it with administrative privileges on the machine. That's why antivirus is clearly a target. And I didn't think anybody would be this stupid. You know, I tested this like 8 years ago. I tested Kaspersky, and Kaspersky updates went over through HTTP. And I was like writing a proxy server. I said, I'm going to change the update. I said, no, this can't be. And I checked, and Kaspersky had invented an HTTPS-like system that is not HTTPS. They had a integrity check and a key and all that jazz. I don't know why. Maybe it predates HTTPS, but I said, I thought so. You can't really man in the middle it and modify the updates. They have a defense.
Yeah.
But EastCan does not have a defense. They just blithely get
So
virus
so
updates over HTTP and then run that whatever they get with administrator rights.
okay. Let's go through this. You're running Kaspersky on your computer.
Well, Kaspersky is safe, but the EastCan is the one
Yeah.
that's not safe.
So run this by me. You're running Kaspersky on your computer as antivirus,
Right.
correct?
Then you get your virus updates, which you have to do every day or something.
Okay. From Kaspersky, they're legitimate.
Yeah, you are because
Okay.
but I noticed when I looked at the traffic, it was actually HTTP. And I
Okay.
thought that it's vulnerable, but it turns out it's not vulnerable because they added their own layers of security to it.
Okay. Okay.
But the Indian one just uses HTTP and that's it. To their server, download a file, run it.
So is this a email scam or SMS? You click on a link or something like
No,
that?
no, this is a real antivirus product. You buy it and put it on your machine, and then every
Oh,
time
oh,
it updates
oh.
without over HTTP, without encryption.
Wait. So what's the connection to
But
Kaspersky?
nothing, just I thought Kaspersky had this vulnerability, but it doesn't.
Oh,
It
so
works
this
like
is an okay. So this is an Indian company
yeah,
that's selling an antivirus software.
yeah. And
I
people use it
got it.
apparently. Yep. And now they're all vulnerable to takeovers
Okay.
through the
And
update
so
process.
this Indian company is going to go in competition with Norton Antivirus,
Well,
uh,
yeah. Apparently, I guess they sell it to people in India. You know, I found an Indian financial app that I gave a DEF CON talk a couple of years ago that I said is the worst app in the world because every time you log in, it queries the server, gets the right password, sends it down to your phone, and then compares it on your phone. And it does all that over HTTP. So you can just steal anybody's password at any time. So I was teaching a class in Saudi Arabia, and one of the project 3 is like steal my password. They're like, you can't do that. That's illegal. I said, I don't think it's illegal. All you do is send my email address, try to log in as me, and monitor the traffic, and you'll get my password.
yeah.
Pretty mind-boggling.
All right. Let's see. Is it my turn here or
Yeah,
yours?
yeah, go ahead.
Here. So this, I reported this maybe a month ago, but in the Bay Area, we have Fast Track, which is the bridge toll,
Mhm.
parking toll, the little box.
Yeah,
So
it
you
works
tie
really
your credit
well.
card.
I've been using the same box for like 6 or 7 years. I guess there's no battery or it lasts forever somehow.
Yeah, yeah. I think there is a battery, but you're right. It lasts. You're right. 5, 10 years, something like that. Anyway, somebody has been sending out fake text messages, emails that are so good that I had to double check and look. And the only thing that really threw me was the dollar amount was odd. And it was $3.95. And first off, there are no bridge tolls at 3.95 in the Bay Area. And all the toll roads are either 50 cents or $1.50, $12, $15, nothing in the 95.
Yeah.
So that's really what clued me off. And this was my daughter who received this, and she's not in the Bay Area that often, but her license plate is registered. So we called Fast Track, and they said, yeah, it's a scam. So apparently, they must be doing pretty well with this scam because Fast Track has sent out an email to everybody saying, "Don't get scammed."
You know, it seems to me like if you're only getting 3.95 from each victim, you're not going to get very rich off this one.
Sam, I think it's the numbers. I think it's low enough that people say, "Oh, okay, I forgot whatever that was
Are you
for."
going to really fool like 10,000 people or something? I mean, it seems to me like the kind of guy that would rob a gas station. Like, you idiot, you're going to go to prison for 50 bucks.
or 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 go to the bank and rob the ATM machine for $2,000.
I've
Well,
seen,
the real money.
well, yeah, but there's real security on the rest of it. I've seen one where they
Yeah,
just back up a pickup truck and yank the ATM out of the wall.
yeah, yeah. I did notice. I don't know if you've seen this on ATMs. It says GPS tracker inside.
Well, that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I have one more story.
One
The
more.
most
All right.
important of all, RFK Jr. While campaigning for
Yes.
president, he has announced that he's going to put the entire US budget on the blockchain. So that should totally end all discussion. We clearly all have to support RFK Jr. What a brilliant idea. I mean, that'll solve everything.
Yes. Okay. He's got my vote.
Absolutely. There's no other candidate that's going to do that. This reminds me of John McCain, who said he was going to put a base on Mars. And the next day, people said, "Did you ask any advisors or anything about that?"
So how's that working out for John McCain?
Well, you can see how well. Well, he didn't. He lost, and then he died. So pretty much Elon Musk's life in fast forward. But he wants to go to Mars and die there too.
Elon does. Well, but aren't we living in a simulation,
Well,
according to
he thinks
Elon?
so, and he think not only that, he thinks he's the only real player. All the rest of us are just NPCs created by software.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of explains a lot of what he does that way. This is all the rich people down through history have had some justification for the fact that I'm important and everybody else is just a pawn for me to use for my amusement. This is a popular belief.
Well, I think you can find some people on street corners that say the same thing. The only difference is
Yeah.
their economic situation.
Yep. 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 I think this is a natural human delusion, right? I'm the center of the world and everything should be for me.
Yeah.
I guess we
Yeah.
all start that way when we're like zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we
I
only
would
develop
agree.
this more sophisticated concept much later that like other people are real people too and deserve some better treatment.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's it for me.
Yeah, that's it for me too.
Okay.
We'll have another one of these on Friday.
Yeah, we'll resume on Friday.
All right.